Yeah, I mean, it's led me to where I think I've got a unique perspective and a unique voice. But, even with that, if I approach it from the point of I'm a mom, I'm not a politician. So I can have that conversation with people on any side of any argument. And hey, no matter if your beliefs are different from me, if you've been wronged, I can go mama bear real easy.
Welcome to Believe in the Leap, the show where faith meets grit and ordinary men do the unthinkable. I'm your host, Brad Parnell, entrepreneur, ultra trail runner, and believer that bold moves build bold lives. If you're tired of playing small and ready to do the unbelievable, you're in the right place. Let's go. All right, welcome back, guys. Today, I'm joined by a woman who's not only a dedicated mother of 4 Keller ISD students, but also a passionate advocate for unity, transparency, and educational excellence. Marissa Bryce is running for Keller ISD School Board Place 1, bringing with her a deep love for this community and a bold vision for moving it forward. With firsthand experience as a parent and a commitment to ending division and supporting both students and teachers, Marissa believes it's time to restore trust and put students at the center of every decision. She's actually not here for politics. She is here for people. So in today's conversation, we're going to dive into her motivation for running, how she plans to navigate challenges like school funding and community tension, and what it really looks like to empower educators and serve students well. So whether you're a parent, a teacher, or a community member, this one matters. Let's take the leap. Marissa, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing today?
I am doing great. How are you today?
Doing good. Been busy on the campaign trail.
I bet. How's that going so far?
It's going great. I'm loving having all the conversations with the different people and really getting to meet some exciting people that normally just, being a mom, you don't have those circles of influence. So it's really great to be expanding my personal circle and getting to meet all these new people. It's great.
That's incredible. So I've got to ask, what inspired you to run for this school board place 1 position? What in the world happened to make you raise your hand and say, I'm going to take the leap?
Man, there's so many things. So we had the giant controversy, of course, in Keller ISD over a potential detachment or split of the district. And that started causing a lot of chaos. And through that, I realized we really needed a voice of calm and reason and truth. And, I had kind of that, that feeling of, I could do that. Maybe. And then it was my kids, and I started seeing, my kids' teachers and people that I knew in the district, and they were upset. And those that knew me were coming to me and saying, hey, what's your opinion on this? Where are things at? And I started using my connections to get answers and continue to reach out. And then I realized one of the board members that I trusted was stepping down. And I was like, oh, who's taking his place? And that was, okay, no, this is me. And, as a family, we prayed about it, and my kids got on board. The husband was on board. Everyone's on like, okay, we're leaping, we're doing this. So yeah,
Wow.
it was all
Wow.
just put together.
That's incredible. So it's truly like the see a need, fill a need. Like, hey, there's going to be a gap, and I think I might have what it takes. That's incredible. So for those that aren't in the Keller ISD area, maybe they're listening from like out of state or they're tuning in, what would be the best way for you to summarize if they're like, well, what's going on? Like, how could you summarize what's happening in Keller ISD right now?
So, from the basics of it, the school board is very conservative and they were doing their job. They were looking into how do we maintain a financially stable district? And that means, okay, budget needs to be balanced. They give that order to the admin's looking into it, but our state hasn't raised the funding since 2019. So, if you're thinking of that on a household level, you think about how much milk has gone up, how much eggs have gone up since 2019. Now, multiply that by right now we have just over 31,000 students. And that's what this district is responsible for. So you are talking massive type of inflation problems since 2019. And yet the state's just like, oh no, you'll be fine. You can manage it. So the board started looking into other options. And one of those options was to divide the district in half so that there would be one smaller portion and one smaller than now, but still larger portion. So it was be about 20 to 11,000 on the other side. And just to see, would it be financially beneficial to do that? And so for one side with 20,000 students, the money per student actually went up. And that was just because of how the state does their crazy formula. Don't get me started on it. they have this formula where there's like, oh, a 0.005% goes to this person, this person, this person. And it's all based on that basic allotment of 6160. So from there, you have the 20,000 has more special ed kids, more kids that are on free and reduced lunch, different things like that. So more funding gets targeted towards them. And on the side of the 11,000, the money actually went down, but they would need less central admin, which means more of the budget gets to go towards the classrooms and everything else. So there was a financial benefit. Then they asked the question, okay, is it legally something that we can do? And so they brought in their lawyer, and he looked at it and goes, yeah, so this is how you can do it, and this is how you can do it. You have to have so much space, you have to have so many population, etc. So that was the same way that any board would do business of you can with Texas Open Meeting Act, you can have up to 3 members. It really depends on how many you have in your board, but for us, it's 3. So 3 people got together, they were discussing this idea, then they brought it in executive session and they presented the idea, read the rest of the board in. Normally that would happen, and then you would go down, and the next month it would either be in the open meeting or it would be back in executive session after the other board members have had a chance to discuss it. Well, instead, it got leaked. And as they didn't have a plan in place, because this was just an idea that they were investigating,
Wow.
in December, come January, it hit Facebook and people went crazy. There were several people that it got leaked to, and they decided to twist the truth. And they started, this was backroom dealings. It's all these people that just want to get rid of certain other people. And it started causing so much division. And like there were accusations of racism and snobbery. I mean, there were calls to boycott the entire city of Keller. Like, it was insane. We had students walk out of the schools in protest. I mean, one thing is you had so many people saying, no, 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 we want to stay unified. We don't want to be split. But there were also people that were just reacting because they didn't know the truth. And the truth was, this is just one of those steps that you have to investigate when you're looking into finances. Personally, I took the stance of we didn't have enough information, and we didn't. And then they started going through the process. Okay, we need this report, this report, this report. Well, it takes months to get those things. They finally get it, and our bond debt is at $700 million. $700 million.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
mathematically, we can't split the district. It would kill the district to have to manage those funds. And besides the fact that we would have to put forward millions of dollars of cash to like say, yeah, we can maintain this. And we don't have that cash. So it was just like, this isn't going to happen. And the split's over and done. So now we're at a point of having to try to heal all of the wounds that got tossed by people that didn't want to hear the truth. They didn't want to seek the answers. And so that's where we're at now. It's a lot of hurt, a lot of resentment, and a lot of needing to speak truth clearly.
Yeah. So was this all happening after you kind of stepped in to fill the void, or was all this chaos kind of starting to brew whenever you said, I'm just going to jump into the middle of this mess and see what I can do?
So the original meeting was in December, and then everything blew up in January, and I filed in February. So yeah,
Okay, so you knew exactly what you were getting into. You just jumped straight into the monster.
I have been asked by so many people of like, okay, what stupid stick hit you? No, not stupid stick, just love for my kids. But hey,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that goes right in great to the next question here. So, how would you say, Marissa, your personal experiences as a parent have influenced your perspective on the district's needs?
and so first off, I never planned on putting my kids in public school. I planned to homeschool all of my kids. And when my oldest was in second grade, he was struggling to learn how to read. And I was struggling with teaching him because I didn't know what the problem was. I love to read. Like, that's the best thing in the world. You give me a book and I'll just disappear all day long.
Yeah.
So I was struggling with him, but he was excelling in math. And then he started swapping numbers. And it just hit me like, oh my word, is he dyslexic? And so that just drove me into this whole thing of, okay, well, where can I get him tested at? Reached out to my elementary school that is around the corner from me. They got him tested. Sure enough, he was dyslexic. And I'm like, okay,
Wow.
I can't do this. No matter how much I love my kid, uh, that is out of my pay grade. And so we enrolled him and my second born into the public school. So that was, and here's the thing, they went to school in fall of 2020. Have fun with that one.
Yeah, right. We all know what happened there.
So fall of 2020, they started school in first and third grade. And at the end of first grade, my second born was also diagnosed with dyslexia. And that was such a crazy jump off a cliff. What are we dealing with the public school system? What are we doing with the teachers? And just going step by step, like deep dive, I'm in it. And of course, it's also or post COVID. And I'm also sitting here with a 1 year old. That's how crazy it was. So I didn't get really involved that first year, but also I was going straight into ARD meetings and IEPs and all of this stuff that is like speaking a different language. And so we move forward another year, and my third one comes to school. So we now have kinder, second, and fourth grade in the same school. And my third born, he starts showing signs of dyslexia as well. And that's when I'm like, okay, we really need to start stepping it up. Got a little bit more active, joined the PTA, and started digging in. Gratefully, Keller ISD actually has some great tools for SPED. And oh, yeah, in the midst of this, Texas decided no, dyslexia is no longer going to be its own category. It's now a special ed category. And that created this whole new umbrella and resources and help. And amazing. And Keller, they have a group called Parents and Community Team. And so they meet once a quarter, and they actually help educate parents on what do you do in an ARD? What are your rights? How can you help? Like, what do you do when you get out of this? All of this special information. So started digging into that. In fifth grade, my eldest started struggling again, and we had to really dig into the schools. We are having to kind of advocate for him because some teachers we didn't think were quite doing their job the way that it needed to be done. And there have been so many hurdles. And like, even my oldest Seth, he sits there and goes, yeah, I'm the kid that goes in and I just find all the problems and you come in and fix them. And David and Jacob get easy rides. That's not really true, but it kind of is. I feel so bad for him because he is the one that is constantly carving the path for the little kid, his little siblings. But yeah, so all of that and just when we started struggling with the teachers, Jonathan, my husband, and I were kind of like, all right, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so we can handle this a couple of ways, but perhaps the best way is just to get our name known on campus. And so we're like, all right, let's take this. And we joked that we wanted to be so well known on campus that when a teacher saw the last name Bryce, they would either be shaking in fear because they're doing something wrong and they're going to be found out, or rejoicing because they know we're on their side. And I think that it's definitely more of the rejoicing. I've had a couple teachers actually fight, for my kids. So I'm happy about that. And I love my teachers. And I do claim them. They are mine. They're not my kids. They're mine.
Your teachers.
They are. I mean, like, for 1 year, I was literally like a hallway mom helping with decorations. And when came time for Star, I was stuffing bags and, just all the things. And it's like, I would run into a teacher that's, on the verge of tears because she just doesn't have time to decorate her door for the holiday competition. And I'm like, do you have a plan? She's like, yeah, I have a plan. It's all cut out. I just don't have time to put it up. And I'm like, just go do your job. I got this. And I go decorate the door.
Yeah, so good.
So, I mean, all of that, it's led me back to this point of sitting here going, I know the ins and outs of a lot of the schools as a parent. I'm hearing a lot of the concerns from the teachers. I'm seeing the lack of support, the lack of trust that the teachers have. And I'm also seeing like the kids, like that, because Seth is now in middle school. When the kids walked out, he actually looked at them and started educating them. Like, you realize by walking out, you're taking away funding from the schools. He actually convinced a few to not walk out. He's like, there's better ways.
Get on him. Yeah.
But so all of that, yeah, I mean, it's led me to where I think I've got a unique perspective and a unique voice. But, even with that, if I approach it from the point of I'm a mom, I'm not a politician. So I can have that conversation with people on any side of any argument. And hey, no matter if your beliefs are different from me, if you've been wronged, I can go mama bear real easy. So you got to give me the opportunity and really find out all of the different sides or as my husband says, find out which personality is in control right now.
Yeah.
So
That's got to be a good strategic advantage, though, of you're in it. Like you've got kids in the school system. You've been there, like you know inside and out. It's not just studied knowledge and reading documents and fake empathy. It's true and it's real. That's powerful. So you've expressed and talked about kind of the recent divisions with the community with proposals to reshape the district. What strategies do you think or would you implement to foster unity and rebuild trust among stakeholders?
communication. We have to have clear communication. And whether that's, helping the communications department formulate a better strategy, or whether it's getting out into the neighborhoods ourselves. I've got a couple of ideas because we represent so many different cities. And, especially when you're talking about Fort Worth versus Keller, they're huge. And Keller has a great city council and mayor that are really involved with celebrating the schools and celebrating their successes. But we don't really see that from any of the other cities. And you start like actually visiting campuses and you realize, oh, they could really use help with traffic. They have signs that are completely washed out. And especially on Fort Worth, trying to get attention on that is really hard. So, as a candidate, I'm actually reaching out to councilmen and mayors and trying to establish, hey, are you actually willing to get into a smaller meeting? Like, if we were to call a meeting with an HOA and the community comes and we bring in principals, would you be willing to attend so that you hear what your constituents are saying? I've gotten some good feedback. I'm getting some buy-in, so that's exciting. But I'm still waiting on Fort Worth. I've got some meetings, so we're gonna hope that that works. So that's one thing, is really making sure that instead of just communicating to 31,000 students and their families, that we're actually shrinking that to a smaller circle of, hey, we're getting into this community of 5,000 homes and communicating directly with them, and then we go over here and direct communication with this community. And excuse me, we're putting faces and actual contact and building relational currency, one on one, so that people do realize they do matter. It's not just, oh, it's this side of the tracks versus this side of the tracks. It is all of us together focusing on what is best for the kids. And I think that when we have the community involved and the community cheering on our kids, that's going to show in the schools. Their pride is going to come up. I mean, in one of my neighborhood schools, we often have trouble over the summer. The grass doesn't get mowed. And so more than once, we've had community people go over and mow it just to keep it. And some of that is, district hiring and people quitting and then it getting lost because you have 42 campuses. So sometimes things get lost. It's okay. But you have to have someone to pick you up when you're down. And right now, with everything going on, we just need to gather close and really have that clear communication, reestablish trust, and just constantly speak truth and do it with compassion and empathy, and just expect the best out of people instead of just assuming that they're out to get you.
Yeah, that's good. Well said. Well said. And I know you mentioned ending the war on teachers and advocating for their empowerment. What policies or initiatives would you champion to support and retain quality educators in Keller ISD?
Yeah. So once again, that goes to communication. All of the possible split was going on. So many teachers were like, okay, well, what happens to us? What happens to our contracts? If we're on this side of the split, what happens? And they were really, really stressed about it. And it showed in the classrooms. I mean, most of them were really good about keeping it out of the classroom, but some of them did. Some of them like let it go in the classroom. Some of them showed up at the board meetings very angry. Um, and I mean, even before this, I have seen where there's just a lack of communication and a lack of trust from teachers going to their superiors and expecting, the admin to have their back instead of just piling more work on them. Right now, teachers are very stressed because of their student count has gone up, their hours have gone up. I know multiple teachers that are essentially doing like they're one person, but they're having to do multiple jobs and only getting paid for the one job, but their salaries aren't going up. They're not going to get raises. Healthcare prices are still going up. There's all of these different things. And it's also for some of them, they're in a position where they have people constantly looking over their shoulder and they're like, I have a degree. I know how to do my job. So I would want to put policies in place that empower them and not just shut them down. What that exactly looks like, I really can't speak to because I don't know the backside of things. I only know what I can see as a parent. And the biggest thing is establishing trust. So we need to hire a superintendent that can communicate all the way down saying, this is the environment we want. And that goes to the principals. And the principals say, okay, for us to have a healthy work environment in this school, here's what we need. And give that little bit of empowerment to every single person. And I get it, especially as conservatives, we're so concerned about propaganda, ideology, all these things getting into the classroom. So as parents, we're kind of like, protect my kid, protect my kid. I get it. This board has actually done a really great job over the past year of getting rid of pornographic books in our library. Policies in place to protect that. They're good. Getting rid of DEI, SEL, all the alphabets, setting up a lot of protections for teachers when it comes to pronoun use. Like there's so many guardrails in place. Okay, we can put down the pitchforks. It's not a witch hunt right now. Right now, we're needing to actually say, teachers, we've got your back. And we need to do that as parents, community, and from the board so that from the top down, bottom up, communication is clear and we rebuild the trust. If we have healthy work environments, I think we're going to maintain teachers because toxicity, I mean, I think all of us have had a job or two that has been toxic, and you want to get out of there as fast as possible. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I know you talked a little bit, Marissa, about misinformation and just confusion, right? And that can spread so rapidly, kind of like the game of telephone. And I'm sure it just gets
Yeah.
crazy. So I'm curious, how would you address and correct misinformation within the community? If we're trying to build trust and clarity, how would you do that?
What I would love to do is take a page out of the White House press corps. So, one thing that they've been doing is they've said, look, we're going to give you access. You can speak truth. If you twist it, you're out. Now, we can't prevent media from coming into the meetings or anything like that. But what we can do is try to, as much as the board is able to, because it is admin and communications group, but to empower them to say, look, we've got a policy coming out. We're going to make a statement on it. And hey, if you would like to interview someone, we'll work to set that up. But here's the thing. If you take their words, you twist them, you put your own bias to it, you're not going to be offered that again. You're welcome to come in, you're
That's
welcome to
good.
report, but we're not going to give you exclusive access. And just continue doing that until you have reporters, until you have podcasters, whoever it is that wants to report on things. When you have a trusted network that is going to give your message, which is the truth. They're going to research it. They're going to give both sides of the story, get the interviews, like present them an avenue of communication so that it's not just social media and it's not just emailed statements or different things like that. If we have a steady stream of information that people can easily access and they know these are from sources we trust, this is coming directly from this board member, whoever it is, I think that it would really go a long way to actually helping get rid of a lot of the misinformation and miscommunication.
Yeah, that's smart. Well said. Well said. So for folks listening that might be, let's say, voters in the Keller ISD area, as they consider choices for upcoming school election or board election, what message would you like to share with them?
There's a lot of candidates to choose from. I'm going up against two gentlemen. And, to run for this, I would hope that your heart is in the right place. I would say vote for me because I know my heart and I know that I'm willing to listen. And I know what my values are. I know I'm putting the kids first, and I know that I've got the teachers back. I think that I can reach across lines and I can establish a lot of trust and a lot of community. I am a conservative, so the values that come with that, as far as fiscal responsibility and strong parental rights, keeping all of the distractions out of the classroom. And that's not just different propagandas, different agendas. It's also making sure that there's not distractions in the school from too many fundraising or too many extracurricular, all kinds of things that can get into the classroom and make it not just about reading, writing, math, sciences. That's where I want the focus to be. I want the students to be our focus, empowering the teachers so that they can really get in there with the students and meet the students' needs and make sure that that is customizable to every single school, because there's not a school that is going to have identical students and every school is going to have different needs, and letting, the principals empower them, speak to the needs. So that's my heart. I am a Fort Worth neighbor. Like, that's kind of one of my things. I am here in Fort Worth, and there's so much that we need. I am for staying at large voting. There's been some stuff about a single member district of splitting up our very large district into smaller where you only get to vote for one or two people. And I'm like, no, I'd prefer to vote for all seven because then I can hold all seven people accountable. And that's a big deal. And both of my opponents are apparently looking into single member district. So that's kind of concerning for me. Even those that are saying that they're conservative, they're like, no, this could be a solution to our problems. I'm like, or it could create more. But no, like, I'm going to be getting out. I'm going to be knocking on doors. Even if you disagree with me, I'd love to have a conversation about why. I'd love to hear your opinion. And ultimately, if you do support me, I've got my website. So you can visit me there at electmarissa.com. If you've got a group that's asking questions, send me a note and let's sit down and talk. I would love to do that. We are still raising funds to get some signs out there. So if you feel led, please donate. That would be amazing. Even if it's just $1, it's kind of putting your money where your mouth is. For me, one of the things that we're doing is 10% of all donations are going to the Keller ISD Education Foundation. And I've already spoken with them. And so on election day, I'm going to dart off from the polls and I'm going to head over to the Education Foundation and write them a check. And they will take that check and they're going to split it up between all 42 campuses because that's me. We're united and this is how I can give back. So we're doing that. But yeah, I really want to be a voice of the people. I want to be someone that they can respect and they can trust, but I also know that I have to earn that. So right now, hold me accountable for what I say. That's the best that I can do.
That's fantastic. Well spoken. Great communicator. Marissa, if you could take like a little time machine back to Marissa right before she decided to jump in this, knowing what you know now, would you have done anything different? Would you still be doing this?
Yes, I would still be doing it. There's a couple of steps I might do a little bit differently of just getting my voice out a little bit sooner. Just we had so many technical difficulties. It was ridiculous. And just, trying to reach out a little bit more. I am a little bit of an introvert, so getting out and really talking to people is something that I am having to constantly grow on, but I'm trying. And just making sure that people really understood what I stood for and what I stand for and who I am a little bit sooner because I got a little bit lost in the weeds. So that's what I would tell myself to focus on right at the beginning. But no, I'd still be right here. I'd still be
Yeah.
going.
So good. I think, truth, trust, and clarity. I mean, I think those are such great, strong words. And I think so probably surprising to everyone that you would consider yourself an introvert. I think you're so well spoken. And I think if anything, right, like leaping out into the middle of this, it forces you into the out of your comfort zone and to get stronger and better at all those things because you don't really have an option, right? It's kind of like a sink or swim. You're swimming and fighting and growing. And it's great to see.
I'm towing behind me. There is no drowning here. If I drown, so we're not doing that.
Yeah. And I think one thing that you told me in some of our earlier conversations, which really struck a chord in me, is just that you felt called to do this. This wasn't something that you just, someone else told you to do it or forced your hand. I mean, and even earlier in this conversation, like you saw the need, you felt the calling, and you just leapt right into the middle of it. And you were fully aware of what was going on. So I just think that's so admirable of, jumping in the fire and saying, I'm here to fight. And it's not about me. It's about the district and it's about doing what's right for everybody. And I just think that's so admirable.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, Marissa, that you'd like to share or add? Anything that we didn't get to cover that you just feel um, a burden on your heart or something that you want to share?
No, I think we have covered everything. I mean, biggest thing that I can encourage people is just, expect the best. Treat people as humans and actually love them, investigate, ask questions. Don't just assume they're in it for political reasons. Don't assume that, they're the worst people on earth. Like, we're all neighbors at the end of the day. And if we can just have a conversation and remind each other that we're all human, humans make mistakes, and there are two sides to every story. And in some cases, there's three. If we can get down to the truth of everything, I think it really gives us an opportunity to really establish trust and figure out how do we actually clearly communicate what's going on. So yeah, it's why truth, trust, clarity. That's why, I landed on those when I started formulating my message. I didn't want it to be about specific policies. I wanted it to be about values because I mean, we can look at the past policies and say, here's the good, here's the bad. We don't know what policies are coming down the road. We don't know what challenges are coming at us. But if I can tell you that I'm going to be treating people with respect, I'm going to be focusing on honor and not shame, justice, mercy, things like that. I can tell you these are how I treat people. This is my value system, and making truth the most important thing and breaking it down so that every single person can understand it, so that it's not just transparent, but it is clear, and establishing trust every step of the way. Then, no matter what policy comes down, if you voted for me, it's because you trust those values and you want me to use those values to vote and to create policy. And that's where I'm running. I'm not sitting here going, I'm going to change who I am for the people that vote for me. No, this is who I am, and I need you to vote for me because you agree with that and you want that person representing you. And there's a big difference in that. So, and I think most politicians are like, "Oh, I'll just let your voices change me." And I'm like, "I'll listen and I will consider your opinions, but you're not molding me. I'm not My vote is not for sale." Like, that's kind of one of the big things that people keep talking about, money coming in. And it's like, "Oh, well, you're just going to be influenced by whatever money or whatever dollar hits you." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. If someone's putting their money behind me, I want it to be because they know me, they trust me, and they support me. Period."
I think anyone that's listening to you and anyone that spends time in conversation or even podcasts like this or YouTube channel, I think it becomes clear when you're talking that it's your congruent self, right? The authenticity of who you are. And I think it also becomes very clear when someone has the opposite, when they're saying the things to get the thing, right? So I just appreciate that you show up as your true congruent full self. And I think that it's very easy for you because it's who you are, right? It becomes very hard when we're trying to be someone that we're not, and we have to do that for an extended period of time for a specific result, and then we have to continue putting that mask on because that's who they expect us to be. That just seems like a lot of unnecessary and frustrating work for the reward.
And to remember, hey, I said this to this person and this to this person, and trying to keep track of all of essentially lies. Nope, I don't have time for that. I was talking to one person, and they told me, they're like, normally first time candidates aren't this open about where they stand, and I'm like, I'm running on truth, and you want me to just fib to win your support? Yeah, no, because the moment that I do that, or the moment that I'm not clear about something, I've lied and I lose your support. So, no, I'm going to be honest in everything I can possibly think of. If people are asking me questions, I'm doing my best to answer them. There's some things I just don't have answers for. And so I'm just like, I'll get back to you. That's the best thing, is I'll get back to you if I don't have the answer right now.
I'm sure that's very refreshing, probably surprising and refreshing, but in a good way, right? It's something one of my business coaches used to tell me is clarity precedes results.
Oh, I like that.
So when you get clear, right? Like you have to get clear first before you can get the results you desire. So it's very clear to me. That's what's going on here. So Marissa, thank you so much for being on the show. Again, if you could give people your website one more time, for those of you that want to learn more about Marissa, what she's doing, about her campaign, what she stands for, where can they go and find more out about you?
All right, it's electmarissa.com. Really simple. So just elect, MARISSA.com. And on there, you'll have the opportunity to read into my values. You'll have on the donate page if you would like to help out my campaign. And there's also a join my team. So if you want to host a meet and greet, if you want to block walk, work polls, get a sign in your yard, all of that good stuff, it's all there on the website.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much, Marissa, for being on the show, for sharing your truth with us and your perspective. And we wish you the best of luck in the upcoming election.
And thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So, guys, if you're listening to this and maybe you know someone that needs to hear this, please share this. Please share this with someone that, if maybe they're a little uncertain or unclear of what's going on in the area, or they're interested in kind of learning more about this, that'd be the biggest gift you can give to us, is just share this with others that you think need to hear it. And we're going to have some other great guests on here with the Believe in the Leap podcast. So, Marissa, thanks again, and we will catch you guys all on the next episode.